Have you ever made a decision so quickly that later you wondered, what on earth was I thinking? Today I want to share a tale from the little town of Chelm, a story so absurd, so foolish, and yet so familiar that it reveals how we, too, sometimes trade wisdom for convenience. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll show you a simple practice that can turn even your most rushed choices into mindful ones. A great calamity once befell Chelm. The town cobbler murdered one of his customers. He was dragged before the judge, who sentenced him to death by hanging. Justice seemed clear, but then a townsman stood and cried, "Your Honor, you have sentenced to death the only cobbler in town. If you hang him, who will mend our shoes?" The people gasped and agreed, and the judge, stroking his beard, reconsidered. He nodded and said, "Good people of Chelm, you are right. Since there is only one cobbler, it would harm the town to let him die. As there are two roofers in Chelm, let one of them be hanged instead." Absurd, yes? But before we laugh too loudly, let us pause. How many times in our own lives do we sacrifice what is right for what feels immediately useful? How often do we let convenience rule over conscience? This is the first lesson. Haste hides wisdom. The people of Chelm rushed to solve their shoe problem and forgot about justice. And don't we often do the same? We hurry decisions on about work, money, even relationships, because we fear discomfort. But a choice made in panic rarely builds a future worth living. The second lesson is this: value is not the same as utility. The townsfolk valued the cobbler only because he fixed their shoes. They reduced his worth to function. And sometimes we do this to ourselves, measuring our value only by productivity or titles. But your worth lies deeper. You are not just what you produce. And here's the third lesson: priorities shape destiny. Chelm chose shoes over justice, and so their future bent toward foolishness. We too must ask, what am I choosing today? Comfort or courage? Convenience or integrity? Every small decision shapes the road ahead. If this story resonates with you, take a breath and subscribe to this channel. Each week, I share timeless stories like this one. Stories that help us slow down, reflect, and walk with more wisdom. And who knows? The next story may be the one that gives you the clarity you've been waiting for. I remember once at the monastery, we had only one working water pump. It broke during a hot summer. Immediately, everyone argued about whose need mattered most: the cooks, the gardeners, the infirm. But our elders simply rang the bell and told us, 3 breaths before speaking. The room softened. Anger became silence. Silence became understanding. And in that calm, we found a way to share. The people of Chelm might have chosen differently if they too had taken 3 breaths before deciding. So let me leave you with this. When life presses you for an answer, pause, breathe. Ask not only what is useful in the moment, but also what will honor your values tomorrow. Remember, your worth is greater than your usefulness. Your choices ripple into the future, and wisdom comes slowly, like dawn after a long night. If this message has touched you, let it settle in your heart. And may your next decision, no matter how small, be guided not by panic, but by peace.